Welcome to Solitaire Quest, Episode 22. I'm the Blood Knight of the Old Republic of Bloodganistan, and we're here, folks. Timeless Children. Written by Chris Chibnall, or would be a better name, Chips Chinballs. Chips Chinballs. Folks, that's a better name for Chris Chibnall. Chips Chinballs. So yeah. Or another title for this episode could be Canon Rape. Just plain, flat, and simple canon rape. Now, before I get into this, folks, I want you to know that this episode of Doctor Who could have been a lot worse. Now, you're asking, how can that happen? How? What the hell, Blood Knight? How could this episode be worse? You're asking how. You're asking how. Right now, I've enraged you so hard. You want to kill someone. I've done that. I apologize. How could this episode of Doctor Who how could it have been worse? Well, you see, folks, the woke writers of the world, what they like to do is they like to subvert characters. They subvert them and then they invert them to their to an absolute contrast. Now, ask yourself, folks, what is the absolute contrast to the Doctor? What's the absolute contrast? What's the opposite of the Doctor? Well, yeah, the opposite of the Doctor is a time-traveling angry edgelord who solves all their problems using explosions, guns, and martial arts, and who also bangs every pair of meat flaps he sees throughout time and space. That is the absolute contrast of the Doctor. Folks, that is the absolute contrast. Now, to give you some perspective, we have Luke Skywalker. What's the absolute contrast to What's the absolute contrast to a hero? What is the absolute contrast to Luke Skywalker? The absolute contrast to Luke Skywalker is a disillusioned, broken down man, a shell of himself, a shell of a hero who refuses to act to save the universe. Now, the absolute contrast of the Doctor, like I said before, if Chris Chibnall and his merry band decided to make that, they decided to make an angry edgelord who solves all their problems using explosions, guns, and martial arts, who also bangs meat flaps all throughout time and space. What you would get is a action movie. What you would get is a action movie. That is literally a roaming firefight through time and space, interspersed with lesbian sex scenes, because this is a female Doctor. Now, as a Doctor Who fan, I will admit that sounds to me a lot better than Series 11 in Series 12. That sounds way more appealing to me than Series 11 and Series 12 put together, folks. As a Doctor Who fan, it would be a travesty upon Doctor Who, but hell, you would pay tickets to see that spectacle. You would pay tickets to see that spectacle. You'd pay for tickets to see that spectacle, and you'd be bringing some lube along, 'cause yeah, some lesbian sex scenes. I don't know about. I guess there'd be like some male sex scenes and whatnot. There'd be like some women and male sex scenes, because you got to appeal to the women too, to the straight women and whatnot. I guess you could throw in that. But yeah, that would be something to see, folks. Now, Chris Chibnall. Now, there's no way Chris Chibnall and his ilk can write that. There is absolutely no way they could do it, folks. There is absolutely no way, because I think the far left. I think they would be so fickle enough that they would tear apart Chris Chibnall. They would tear him to pieces. They would tear him to pieces, and it would be beautiful. He'd be called toxic. He'd be called, well, I don't know. He'd be called toxic. He'd be called istinophobe. And really, where he gets his gratification is from the woke media, the far left access media, and all that crap. They would say he's toxic. But now, that's really, I honestly think that Chibs wants to write, I honestly think that Chris Chibnall wants to write that. To a certain extent, because he's destroyed the canon of Doctor Who. He just shoehorned a bunch of bullshit. Just did that. I really don't think he would stop at just the canon. I think he would go after the Doctor himself. But it's hilarious to me, though, that a plot function created to let a senior citizen actor, William Hartnell, to allow him to gracefully retire from a series has honestly hemmed these people in, because what these people want to write, what Chris Chibnall and all that wants to write, they can't do it because they've regenerated the Doctor into a woman. They've given the Doctor the perfect shield, the perfect personal force field against against uh against the against against that kind of wokeification. They've literally given the Doctor the perfect force shield against that. And now, what's something else? What Chris Chibnall and his woke folks would love to do. What they would love to do is they'd love to permanently kill off the Doctor. They'd love to Joel and One the Doctor, you know. But the thing is, they'd like to permanently kill the Doctor. Just permanently off the Doctor, and that's it. They'd love to permanently do that, and then place a new female character in the lead, or whatever character, and call that person the Doctor. But because they've regenerated the Doctor into a woman, they would essentially be killing off a female lead, and that wouldn't be PC of them to do, which is hilarious. Literally, imagine it like this, folks. Imagine it like this. You have a bunch of cans of woke paint. And you can paint Star Wars and Star Trek safely in that woke paint all day long. And if you looked at it through the woke lenses, you'd be fine. Now, if you painted Doctor Who with the same level of effort, with all the best shades of gray and blah there is to woke writing, if you painted Doctor Who like that, if you painted Doctor Who like that and you looked at it through through some woke lenses, what you would get is a seizure-inducing, nausea-inducing, vomiting-inducing horror show to your woke sensibilities. You would, it would that's and this is all done, folks. This was all, and this all came about because of a function that was created years ago in the 60s. This was created years ago. Regeneration was created years ago in the 60s for William Hartnell to gracefully retire and and let another guy take his place. It was created as a narrative function. Now, that's beautiful to me. Now, if they wanted to destroy the Doctor permanently, what they would have to do is effectively turn off the Doctor's ability to regenerate. But if they killed Jodie Whittaker, again, they'd be killing off a female lead. And that would be no bueno. They'd be asking, why can't we, why did you do that? We could have had a black guy play the Doctor. Why? Why? And yeah, literally, this regeneration is literally a logic bomb as a plot device for the woke folks, for the Doctor. It's literally a logic bomb. Because the moment you start using all the best shades of blah and gray, as soon as you start using all those, as long as you start doing all those things to a white, as long as you start doing those things to, as soon as you regenerate the Doctor into a woman, you're done. And then you try using those shades of gray and blah, you essentially create a logic bomb for these people. It's hilarious that that William Hartnell's legacy is literally preventing Chris Chibnall and his folks from doing their absolute best to destroy Doctor Who. Now and they know this, of course, which is probably why they're defaulting to writing David Tennant for Jodie Whittaker, because that's the safe alternative. That's the only thing they could possibly do in the situation at hand. Because they probably grew up with David Tennant. You got fangirls taking over the show. And yeah, they know David Tennant. And this is ultimately why Chris Chibnall attacked the canon the way he did, folks. It's the reason why we got Tech-Tayun. It's the reason why she invented regeneration. It's the reason why all this and all that happened in this episode of Doctor Who, because these people were denied their best tools of destruction. Imagine a Cold War where Russians were immune to, where the Russian people or the Americans, whichever fence you stand on, imagine the Cold War, but one side is completely immune to radiation because the other side inadvertently gave them force shields. Imagine that, folks. So this is what I believe. That's why we got the canon rape that we did. Now, yeah. I think I'm gonna, yeah, this is just part one. This is just part one, folks. I'm gonna cut it off here. I'm gonna make a second, I'm making a second video, folks. I'm making a second video. Stay frosty. Episode 2 coming up next.